Hello, this is JamsHams Judgement, my weekly review podcast where I review anything and anything. This week I'll be reviewing The Boys, an Amazon original TV series that has recently come out. This is the general gist of the podcast. Basically I try to keep it as interactive as possible, so if you have any questions and thoughts, please do share them in the chat and I will do my best to answer, read, whatever. Keep it interactive, you know. So as per usual, I have a little itinerary to get through. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the premise of like what the universe of this series is, go through a few of the main characters just so you know if I'm talking about people, you know who I'm talking about. And then I'll go through the plot a bit. This is a weird one. I usually go through the plot pretty thoroughly, but this time I'm gonna sort of skim over a few things because I really do think people should watch this, and I don't want to spoil it too much. Obviously there will be spoilers in here, but I don't want to spoil everything, if that makes sense. So yeah, that is, and then I'll go through what I liked and what I didn't like, and then finally I will give it my JamsHams Judgement. Wow, it's the name of the thing. Isn't that funny? Right, so, has anybody seen The Boys? Came out this year, came out, what, two weeks ago-ish? Pretty sure it's all dropped on Amazon Prime. Possibly other places, like I was saying to Carius, I'm not sure, but it is an Amazon original. It says it there. Because this was the best logo I could find for it. Oh, there are so many things called like The Boys, The Boy. My god. Trying to find images for this was hard. Oh dear me. I could barely find a HD poster for it for my going live thing. I guess because it's so new. But it's new, but it's insanely popular, and you'll probably hear why. So what is The Boys? The Boys is a superhero TV show. Now you may tune out at that, like, oh, more superheroes. This is different. This is superheroes with not just a twist, but a big old twist. This is done very differently from all the other superhero films and TV shows. This is basically... It's basically what if superheroes were dicks. Not villains. Well, kind of. They're mostly fine, but what if they were dicks? You know what I'm saying? So that's the basic premise. Okay, so it's an universe where there are, I think it said, about 250 superpowered people. Some better than others. Some are like real low tier garbo. Who cares? Superheroes. So, and they're all controlled by a corporation called Vought International. And basically this company controls everything about the superheroes. They have like crime itineraries where basically they're told what crimes to go out and get. At one point someone got in trouble for stopping an attempted rape that wasn't on their crime itinerary. And basically it's images everything. They're basically monetizing these superheroes, so it's sort of I guess not making fun, but like a commentary on the way superheroes are at the moment, being monetized and stuff. For example, even though superheroes are real, there is also, I think it's called a Vought Cinematic Universe. Take a guess at what that's poking fun at. Where it has all the characters. So all these superheroes also like star in their own films. They make films and make it monetized. So images everything. So So that's the deal with the superheroes. So they're all controlled by these by this company. There are two main groups. So there's the superheroes, the main superheroes, which is called the Seven. And as you can imagine, there are 7 main superheroes that do the big crimes, the Avengers level threats, if you will. And I'll go through the members in a minute. It's written here that the 7 is Vought International's premier superhero team. They're like the A-listers. They're the S-tier superheroes. And then on the flip side, you've got the Boys. Now, the Boys is basically a ragtag group of people, vigilantes, if you will, kind of. And their main goal is to stop all the dirty, corrupt things that all these heroes are getting up to and getting away with. So, let's go through a few of the main characters. So, who are the Boys? The Boys is led by a guy called Billy Butcher. He hates all superheroes, but he especially hates Homelander, who is the leader of the 7. Why, you may ask? Is it some sort of light-hearted reason? No, he believes that Homelander raped then killed his wife. Before I go any further, if it's not abundantly clear, this isn't a superhero show for kids. This is it's quite adult in nature. The motives behind things and the things that happen are pretty full on. So prepared for that. I'm pretty sure it's like classed as an 18 or mature in America. I think it is. The highest like rating, I think. So that's why Billy Butcher has formed this group called the Boys. They're trying to take down these superheroes and expose them, because in general the public sees, because their image is so tightly controlled, that the public sees the superheroes as perfect, nothing wrong with them, they just save the day, everything's fine. But a select few people know about what they've been doing and how they cover it up, and are trying to expose all of that. And that's what the Boys are doing. So the newest member of the Boys is Huey. Now Huey is, I guess, the main character, probably the person you follow most in this series. So he joined the Boys, he got recruited to the Boys by Billy Butcher because his girlfriend got obliterated, for lack of a better term, by one of the 7. So this was fucking unexpected when it happened. So you just see this random guy, you haven't met Huey before, they're having a good time, him and his girlfriend, you feel for them, you relate to these characters, and then all of a sudden they're having a nice little moment on the street, and then suddenly his girlfriend just turns into a massive blood explosion. It goes slow-mo, blood splats across his face, you can see the shock at, like, what the fuck just happened, what? And turns out one of the 7, like a super speedy Flash type character, had run through her, and he run through her like at such speed she just exploded. So Huey's girlfriend got obliterated, and then the superhero that did it didn't even stop, kept going. So that's why Huey is not best pleased at the superheroes. And then obviously, because image is everything, the company then tried to sweep it all under the rug, offer him like a big lump sum of money and a non-disclosure agreement, all of that, but Huey obviously refused all that and instead joined the Boys and then said, I'm gonna take down these fuckers, because it's at that moment where he's like, oh, these guys are just dicks. We've been tricked. So next member of the Boys is Mother's Milk. Yes, that is his name in the show. You don't get too much backstory from what I can remember. Yeah, song request is not a thing. Sorry there, bud. Yeah. As for music, I don't know if you can even hear it. There's this is basically just copyright-free music, because I'm going to put this up on YouTube afterwards, and I can't have it copyrighted. Otherwise, it gets muted. And I also haven't had song request on for probably about a year, so I'm sorry. And also, you can't post links. Otherwise, that happens. So, sorry about that as well. Hello, by the way. So, Mother's Milk, he is a correctional officer. And he has a family, wife and kid. That's basically his whole shtick. He's a family man. He's a big, tough guy. But he's a loving family man as well. That's kind of his whole deal. It probably got mentioned why he's interested in taking down the superheroes. I can't remember off the top of my head, I'm going to be honest. Probably something to do with, like, similar to the other people, where he just knows about all the stuff that they're covering up, basically. Then there's Frenchie, and can you believe it, he's French? Dicks versus the boys, precisely. Not all dicks. I'll go into that when I go through the 7. And not all terrible, like I said. Some are. Some are. So Frenchie is a mercenary, weapons expert, drug dealer, maybe, sort of chemist kind of guy, knows how to make and mix chemicals and stuff like that. Knows explosives and all of that, knows how to shoot a gun, and he's a mercenary, basically. And he doesn't like to follow the plan. Sort of improvises, goes on gut instinct, and that he's got a bit of a love-hate relationship with Mother's Milk, so they're at each other's throats because Mother's Milk does follow the plan. And I said Huey was the most recent addition. I guess the most recent addition to the boys is Kimiko. So Kimiko is a superhero. Not a superhero, a super, like a soup. They call them soups. A love-hate relationship, so like they love to hate each other. Didn't realize, yeah, that's what that term means. But yeah, like they're at each other's throats. They like don't get on super well, but they like respect each other and get on to a certain extent. So that's a love-hate relationship. So Kimiko is a super-powered person that they found in the basement of a seedy drug ring and rescued her, and she slowly becomes a bigger and bigger ally of them throughout the series. So that's the boys. That is the boys. Not many people. Just a ragtag group of people against the most powerful people in the world. So the 7. The leader of the 7, the one that Billy Butcher hates, Homelander. He's basically Superman. He's got the powers. Just think about the powers of Superman, and Homelander probably has them. Got the laser vision, invulnerable, super speedy, flying, all of that. He's basically Superman. But if Superman was a dick and raised in a lab, because Homelander was like raised in a lab, he was like one of the first superheroes. But yeah, he's a bit unstable. He doesn't think the way that everyone else thinks. He's got some weird like quirks about how he thinks about things. He just wasn't. He was not raised right, basically. And he's a big old weenie. At the start, so everyone in the public, Homelander is like the pinnacle of good. To the public, Homelander is like Superman, like can do nothing wrong. He's such a good person, and that's the image that he puts out there. In reality, he's the worst. He's the worst one. He has a bunch of secret seedy plans he's been enacting out, which I'll go on into later. I'll give one example of how he's a dick, or just this one's not even like him being so, well, yeah, it is actually, more I think about it. This is him being a dick. Okay, so there's a flight, an airplane that's being hijacked. So he flies up there, takes out the terrorists, but in doing so he lasered through the like equipment console in the cockpit, so he can't fly the plane. No one can fly the plane. Pilots are dead. And basically now the plane's going down, full of people, and he can't save everyone, according to him. He can't save everyone, so he has to just leave. And his reason for not saving anyone, like, because he could grab at least a few people, his reason is that, well, right, how do I explain this without actually having seen it? Basically, all the people on the plane saw his true colors. They saw him being a dick. He threatened to murder everyone on the plane because they would like wanting to be saved and stuff. And he said, "I can't save one person."
I have a plan, Pam said to Sam.
General Wiggins, thank you for the host. Welcome. Yeah, I can't save one of you because then they'll tell the world what I'm really like. So he just leaves them all to die on the plane. So yeah, not the greatest bloke. So then we've got, next member is Starlight. Starlight is the newest member of the Seven, and is Huey's love interest. They met outside. At the start, they don't know what either of them do. Huey didn't know she was part of the Seven, and she didn't know that he was part of the boys. Obviously, later that all comes out, and everything got heated, and everything got a bit more complicated. But yeah, so Starlight is the newest member. She's basically got, like, I don't really know how else to explain it. She's got starlight powers. She can make beams of energy from her hands and like blind people with light and stuff. And all of these heroes are generally like super strong, resistant. She gets shot in the chest by like a Barrett 50 cal at one point twice and just lives. So all of these soups are pretty like standard. They've got like the baseline of strength and resistance, I guess. So yeah. So she's the newest member of the Seven, and she's one of the good ones. She is one of the good ones. She wants to be a superhero. She wants to help people and do it her way. She's the one that got in trouble for stopping the rape, because it wasn't like scheduled for her to do that, and it got filmed. So she is the good one. She's like what the Homelander like should be, or like how Homelander is portrayed, just wanting to help people and stuff. But she's like quickly learning that this whole like operation is just so corrupt and so bad. So then we've got Queen Maeve. Queen Maeve is think Wonder Woman. She's basically Wonder Woman. She's basically got the same armor as Wonder Woman as well, just without the shield. She's just like, I'm not even sure what her powers are other than like super strong, same as pretty much everyone else really. In terms of her character, she used to be like Starlight in like really wanting to help people, but after a few years of being in the business, she's realized that it's impossible to do that because it's so corrupt, so she's just like going along with it now. So she's very dismissive of all the like actual hero stuff, but in essence she's fine. She's like good. She still does like save people and stuff and wants to save people. Then we have A-Train. A-Train is the super speedy boy that ran through and exploded Huey's girlfriend. So he's a super fast boy, and he's also a drug addict. I'll explain more about the specific drug later because I feel like it needs more context. So he's the one that Huey hates, and by the end, A-Train also hates Huey because it's like, oh, he realizes, oh, you're the guy who's been trying to fucking like ruin me, and it's like gunning for him. Then we have the Deep. The Deep is basically Aquaman. Does all the stuff that Aquaman does. Talks to fish. Talks to lobsters. Every time he talks to like a fish or a lobster, it's pretty funny. You never hear or like see what the sea life is actually saying, so it's just it's an amusing interaction. But from that description, you think, oh, so the Deep is one of the good guys as well. He seems like a light-hearted guy. Well, no, the Deep is not a good bloke. The first thing that you see of the Deep is when he welcomes the newest member, Starlight, into the Seven. He rapes her. Now, going over this again, I am realizing that there's a lot of rape in this, and it's not pleasant. Basically, he whips his dick out and says, if you want to be in the Seven, you know, you've got to... So yeah, it's quite kind of uncomfortable, and yeah, it wasn't pleasant. So yeah, no, the Deep bad guy, just bad guy. So that's his deal. Jesus Christ. Then there's Black Noir. Black Noir literally never says a single word in the series. He's you don't see his face. He's got a mask on. Think Spider-Man Noir costume, kind of that sort of deal. He's just an assassin guy. He's got like throwing knives and stuff like that. Super strong, super fast, blah 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 blah. All the baselines. But yeah, he doesn't talk. As far as I'm aware, I can't really tell if he's good or not. I think he's just a bit like Queen Maeve, maybe just like going along with everything. At one point, I think he does do what... I think he's like mainly loyal to Homelander, so, you know, maybe edging towards the bad guy side of things. Yeah, Genji. He's Genji. He's edgy Genji. Then there is Translucent. Now, Translucent is just an invisible guy. But on top of being invisible, he has like invulnerable skin. So basically, turning invisible turns his skin into some sort of like carbon, nanotech, whatever science mumbo jumbo they used, which means he's got like invulnerable skin and very, very hard to kill, basically. So Translucent, the first thing you see of him is worth noting that when he goes invisible, to be fully invisible, he has to be fully naked. And the first time you see him perving on Starlight and Maeve in the women's bathroom. So yeah, not a great guy either. Yeah, not a great guy. Not a great guy either. So that's all the members of the Seven. But then there is also Stillwell. She is the vice president of the Vought Corporation, so she's in charge of everything. She also has a very, very weird relationship with Homelander. So, you know, I said that Homelander was raised wrong and he has some really weird quirks and stuff. Basically, Homelander and Stillwell have this weird, like, mother-son sort of relationship, where like he with his X-ray vision like will like watch her like use breast pumps and stuff, and he'll be like getting off on it and stuff, and then he's like he basically like sometimes like acts like a little kid around her and sort of gets off on that as well. Like he was raised wrong, okay? He was raised wrong. And then at one point they actually do like have sex, and it's like it's very weird. It's very weird. So yeah, those are the main characters. Those are the main characters. So yeah, this, like I said, this show not for kids, not for the average like Marvel movie watcher. So the plot, like I said, I've written down a very vague plot summary because I don't want to ruin everything. There are a lot of twists and turns and like things getting revealed and stuff, but I have like put down the main points that I will go over. So the plot. The boys are basically trying to expose all the evil stuff that the Seven are doing and covering up. For example, this is the main thing that they ended up uncovering. They found that the heroes are actually being manufactured by Vought, when as previously they were like, oh, it's a gift from God. All these superheroes are being born to save us. But no. They're all being raised from babies, injected with a special compound called Compound V, and it basically, if injected into a baby, and they then grow up superpowered. But not many people know that. Like a very select few people know that that's the actual case. So basically, Vought is raising and injecting, experimenting on babies in their labs, because obviously it doesn't always work either, so there's probably a lot of dead babies on their hands as well, which is just another layer of bad juju that they're that they're putting down. I was gonna say something, but I've forgotten. Yes. The A-Train was addicted to a drug I mentioned. He is addicted to Compound V. Basically, if you're an adult superhuman and inject yourself with Compound V, it sort of enhances your abilities for at least a short duration. So he uses that because he's obsessed with staying as the fastest man alive, so he's constantly like dosing himself with Compound V. He's addicted to it. But it sort of acts a bit like, it's basically superhero heroin, in essence. So yeah, Compound V, not good stuff. Not good stuff. Right, this is the other main thing. Oh, we'll say the boys. Billy Butcher has a lot of connections, and he's trying to get enough information, enough evidence to give to his FBI connection so they can shut it all down. They give it all the info to the FBI, and they are just about to nail them. They're like gonna take them in, but Homelander has been hatching this secret plan, and it basically stops all of it in its tracks, and they can't prosecute them. They basically can't touch the Seven at the end, which I'll go into. So the Seven, or Vought International, moreover, so it's all about making money as well. If there's any way they can profit off these heroes, they can. So the merchandise, the movies, anything, trade deals, you name it, they're gonna profit on it. They're gonna try. So the Seven are trying to get involved in the military. So basically, they're like, "Oh, you're not dealing with like the terrorism threats well enough. Why don't you just let us like send Homelander in to obliterate all the terrorists and stuff?" But then everyone's like, "Hell no! This is like the worst idea. Please do not involve superheroes into the military." And they're like, "If we send a superhero to get these terrorists, they're just going to send a nuke at us because they're like, oh, well, this is like the last stand. We just need to obliterate them. And it would basically make the superheroes all powerful. They'd basically be in control of the military as well, which would not be good because, as previously stated, these blokes are not good blokes. So, Homelander has been hatching his own schemes. Homelander is very much like on the side of Vought. They share ideals. He wants to be all powerful, get as much fame and as much money and stuff as possible. And obviously, there's the weird interaction with Stillwell. He wants to like impress her and do what she wants, and he does a lot of weird things. It's like, oh, I've done this because I thought that's what you wanted. Like at one point, he assassinated someone by shooting down their plane because it's like, well, he was mean to you. He was mean to you. I heard him being mean to you, so I shot down his plane. Basically, that's the sort of level he goes to. So his main scheme was basically he has been, with the help of A-Train and I think Black Noir and maybe the Deep as well, not sure. Basically he's been using A-Train to literally run drugs around the world and distribute Compound V to people, to specifically terrorist groups. So this has given the terrorist groups access to the Compound V. Now what this does is it's given rise to superpowered terrorists, which, as you can imagine, is not great. You see footage of one completely obliterating a squad of US soldiers. And then just leaving unscathed. It's not great. So basically, Homelander's plan with all this is, okay, they're not going to let us in the military. If I make superpowered terrorists, they're going to have to let me in. They're going to have to like call on the heroes to help. So that's Homelander's plan, and it works. That is why the FBI can't act to shut all them down and shut down all the corruption, because it's like, we can't act on these people because we need them. If we don't have them, we've got no way to deal with the superpowered terrorists. So Homelander essentially wins in the end because he's got everything he wants. And pretty much no one can stop him by the end. And I mean, thinking forward to like season 2, I don't see how they're gonna... I guess a superhero team up might be the only way to take him down. I'm not sure. Who knows? This is also, I meant to say this at the top. This is based on a series of comic books. I haven't personally read the comic books, so I don't know where it's going. But I also do know that this has changed the stories slightly, especially at the end in the comic books. So maybe they're going somewhere completely different with it. I'm not sure. So at the end, I think I'm just going to mention the end because it's a really like well done cliffhanger. Spoiler warning, by the way. If you're still watching after all these spoilers. Okay, basically, vroom vroom. Sorry about that. So Billy Butcher finally corners Homelander. And he's basically trapped Stillwell in a suicide bomber vest, like covered her in C4. And that's because she's basically the only person Homelander has any like attachment to whatsoever. So Butcher's plan is like, oh, this is his weakness. Like, he doesn't have any physical weaknesses. This is his emotional weakness. Like, I will blow her up if you do not like tell me what happened to my wife, blah blah blah. But that sort of backfires because Homelander just lasers Stillwell through the face. Sort of throwing Butcher's plan out the window because he just killed, like ruthlessly, like just melted her face. So obviously he wasn't that attached, or not attached enough to throw away his own plans for, at least. So at that point, Butcher just pulls the trigger anyway, blows up everything. But Homelander saves him. Well, Homelander stops him from dying at least, and then when Butcher awakes, he's outside a house. And then out of the house comes Butcher's wife. Now, Butcher's wife was presumed dead. There was a bit of a side story because Homelander was also trying to find out what happened to Butcher's wife. So out she comes, but here's the twist. Here's the big old twist. Who does she come out of the house with? Homelander's son. That's right. I mean, whether it was consensual or not, that's still up for debate. It was left on a very large cliffhanger. But basically, well, they must have had intercourse in some regard. She got pregnant, gave birth to Homelander's son. Vought International made her sign basically hid her away and wouldn't let her back into the real world, and also kept it hidden from Homelander. So now there's a little Homelander that both Butcher and Homelander now know about. And that's how it ends. That's how it ends. There's a lot of cliffhangers. So there's the superpowered terrorists. There's them controlling the military. There's Homelander's son. Like Butcher. What's gonna happen to Butcher now? What are the boys gonna do? There's a lot of cliffhangers at the end, which is good because I really, really fucking want season 2. Right, so I know that's, like I said, I breezed over the plot. It might not have even made sense to you. It made sense to me because obviously I've seen it, but if you haven't seen it, maybe that didn't make sense to you, and I'm sorry if it wasn't clear. But hey, you're just gonna have to go watch it. Not sponsored, by the way. Right, so what I liked. Now, I've written down that it's funny. From what I've just described, you may not think it's funny, but it's got very good dark humor in it. Like very, very good dark humor throughout. Obviously, it doesn't like make light of the like bad situations, like it doesn't like make jokes out of like the rape and the murders and stuff, but like in between that there's good like dark humor. Few examples, when the Deep goes on like I think a drunken mission with a van to try and save a dolphin from SeaWorld. And he's chatting, he's like having a conversation with the dolphin in the van, and he wasn't paying attention and basically crashed. And in slow-mo, you see the dolphin fly out with this panicked look, smash through the windscreen, and then immediately get obliterated by a truck. And it's a fantastic scene. And it was so unexpected, it was so out of the blue that suddenly you're just following the Deep just on this dolphin rescue mission. It was great. Another example, when the boys found out about about what Vought was doing and injecting these babies and making them superpowered, they found a room full of superpowered babies, and Butcher at one point grabbed a baby and was using the baby as a laser gun. And it was fucking fantastic. So it's got some good funny moments in it. Those were just 2. And obviously me describing them doesn't do them justice, but you know, they're good, trust me. Another thing I liked, obviously it doesn't pull any punches. It's not like MCU level, it's an 18 for a reason. It doesn't pull any punches, lots of language, lots of gore, lots of very, very dark themes and what have you. So yeah, definitely a more adult show. With a few more, I mean, obviously, it's weird saying the word realistic, because it's about superheroes, but if you think about how some people might act, and like how if a bad guy, if a bad in general guy was made super powerful, how they would abuse those powers. It's realistic in that sense. So yeah, that's something I liked. Also, with that, it's dark. Hello, Mr. Space Cake. How's it going? It's dark, but not so dark that it's unenjoyable. Obviously, if it's all dark all the time, it just gets depressing. But like I said, it's well balanced with the dark comedy. So yeah, it's pretty well balanced in that respect. Otherwise, I mean, like I said, there's some heavy topics in this, and if it was just heavy topic after heavy topic, it would get a bit, not very fun. Decorating your front room, very nice. I'm doing the podcast in a minute. At the minute, so I won't be too like conversational until afterwards, so apologies for that. But if you feel free to stick around. You joined pretty much near the end of the podcast, so good story, like very good story. Obviously, I know I just said I didn't do it justice because I skipped a lot of bits. Don't want to spoil it too much. There's things that keep on popping into my mind that I think, I want to tell you about that bit, but on the off chance that you may watch it at some point, I can't in good conscience spoil some of it. It's great. Good story. Obviously I've spoiled a few of the major plot points, but at no point did I sort of guess where it was going in the end. Sort of the twists and turns it made, it kept me guessing, and it's very good. It's a very good story, good writing, and it also kept me very hooked. I didn't quite do it in one day, but I almost did. If I didn't have work the next day, I would have done it in one day. I binged 7 hours of it, so the first 7 episodes, and then the very first thing the next morning, I watched the last hour. So I was in the mindset, I was like, I have to finish this. This is fucking fantastic. So yeah, very, very binge-worthy show. Good pacing, I've mentioned that. Yeah, here's one. In a lot of these series that I've reviewed, I've mentioned that a lot of the people's stories I don't really care about. So, trying to think of some examples. I think like Game of Thrones, I said like whenever Sansa was on the screen, I just like zoned out because I didn't care about her story. In this, there weren't any characters' stories that I didn't care about, so that was very nice. So I was like fully invested in all of the characters. It was a welcome change. Obviously that's very subjective. Sansa is a dick, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Where were you to defend my views when I was doing Game of Thrones? Oh dear. So yeah, that was a welcome change. Obviously that's very subjective. You might not care about these characters, but I did. Left on a good ending. I sort of explained the cliffhanger. So it lets like there's a lot of stuff like that's still a mystery and still like, oh, how's that gonna turn out? But enough was resolved that left you thinking, okay, I'm satisfied with what this series was. It was a good balance. It like left you satisfied, but also left you wanting more. It didn't like use up all its stuff in the first season. It sort of saved plenty for the second one, but it didn't skimp out on what it had in the first season, if that makes any sense. So yeah, left on a good ending, I feel. Good acting as well. Good acting. Good acting. not like very many huge name actors in this. Probably the biggest one I knew. Well, Simon Pegg's in this, but he's not a main character. He plays Huey's dad. And also little trivia in the comic books. The original design for Huey was based on Simon Pegg, which is why Simon Pegg plays Huey's dad. He would have played Huey, but now he's a bit too old. sorry, Simon Pegg. And then there's Carl Urban, who plays Billy Butcher. Carl Urban you may know from Lord of the Rings as Éomer. He was in Thor Ragnarok. I've got him here. Let's have a look at this IMDb. Star Trek, Doom. Riddick, Dredd. He was Judge Dredd. Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff, but like he's not like he's more of like I've always thought of him as an actor. It's like, oh, it's that guy. I know that guy. Carl Urban, very good as Billy Butcher. His acting is great. His accent is iffy. Basically, he's meant to be British, but he's very like stereotypical British. Basically, like Danny Dyer on steroids, if you know who that is. And also, he's from New Zealand, I think. Especially in the first, I think 1 or 2 episodes. It's weird. I don't know whether I noticed it because I am British, but you could very clearly hear that he sometimes varied back into like the New Zealand way of like the Kiwi way of talking and like pronouncing things. But like you got over it. Like it's not. He's such like a fun character that you sort of look past it. But I guess some people. I've definitely seen people complain about his accent, but like at the end of the day, who cares? It was a good performance, regardless of the accent. One thing I jotted down is that it's got really good effects. Especially, I thought when things got lasered through, when a person got shot with laser eyes, like it shredded that person, and you could see all the viscera and guts and goo. At one point, this was the bit when he was using the baby as the laser gun. When he lasered through someone, basically split them down here. Their heart was there, but the heart was split into 2 pieces, but still like pulsating. Oh, it was good. It's mwah. some solid gore. A lot of like people exploding into big things of blood, like Huey's girlfriend and whatnot. All good. At one point, this bit. At some point, I won't spoil the characters and stuff, but at some point, a superpowered woman, high on compound V, which makes us like even more super strong, is sitting on this guy's face, receiving cunnilingus, and she was enjoying it so much that she tensed her thighs and exploded his head. And you saw that. So yeah, the effects are good, for the most part. The effects are very good. More on like the small scale stuff, I guess. But yeah, that's I think that covers everything that I liked about it, which is pretty much, everything. I usually say what I don't like, so I'll get into that. What I didn't like. Honestly, I sat here when I was writing these notes and struggled a lot to find anything I didn't like. I honestly could not find many things that I didn't like. So one thing, like if I had to say something that I didn't like, some of the effects were a bit wonky. Like, so it was so minor. I can remember when I was watching it, I can remember thinking, oh, that's a bit wonky, but now I can't even remember what was wonky. It was that minor. I honestly can't remember. It might have been like maybe one time a plane was flying and it didn't look real. I think that's it. But that's like, I was really pushing myself to think of something bad in it. It has Simon Pegg in it. It's perfection. Yeah, I am a big fan of Simon Pegg. He's not in it that much. He's more of a cameo, I'd say. He's in a few episodes, but he's still good. He's still good. Good acting in it. Obviously the relationship between Huey and his dad's explored a little bit, and that's all good. No complaints there. Simon Pegg does an American accent, from what I understand, that he did pretty well at that, so it's pretty good. Speaking of accents, so I was trying to think of things I didn't like, so I tried to look at other people's reviews to see what they pointed out, and like see if I missed anything glaringly obvious that was awful. I couldn't find anything. The only thing I could find was a few people saying, oh wow, it's different from the comic books and I don't like change. But who cares? It's not the comic books, so like they're allowed to take it their own way, and oftentimes if you were to take a comic book and splat it straight onto the big screen, it just wouldn't work. That's why they changed them for a reason. And if they're gonna take it into their own direction, they've made a really good show, so why shouldn't they? Why shouldn't they do what they want instead of like following some other person's writing, you know? But that's the only thing that really I could see people complaining about. But I think that's just die-hard fans of the comic going, they didn't include this. 1 star. There was, for some reason, I also saw a guy who said, this show was made by like social justice warriors and blah blah blah. Didn't really know where he was coming from. He gave it 1 star. I think he was just a bit mad at something else when he wrote the review. I'm not sure. Didn't really see where he was coming from. But yeah, those were the only things I saw that people wrote about not liking it. Also, I have no idea who he was, who the actor is, and what else he's been in. But the guy who plays Homelander, Anthony Starr, fantastic. Like his acting was amazing. He did like the really good guy stuff really well, but he also did like the really sinister, this is an insane man stuff really well, and like the switching between them was really good. He also looks the part as well. He was a bit of a standout performance, I'd say. So yeah, that really shows how much I like this. In the section where I'm supposed to be saying what I don't like, I'm ending up saying things I do like. But, okay, so the JamsHams Judgement, it's here. I'm gonna give this, The Boys, the series, a 9 out of 10. A 9 out of 10 hams, which is pretty fucking good. If you have Amazon Prime or wherever else you might find it, very much recommend. Whether you like superheroes or not, because like I've said, this is not like any other superhero thing I've ever watched at all. So yeah, 9 out of 10. Really, really good. Yes, for the boys indeed. And yeah, goes without saying, cannot wait for season 2. Pretty sure I've already seen like people posting, they're already filming season 2. People have posted like set pictures and stuff. So yeah, I think it's a big success. Very highly rated online. Very highly rated online right now by me. And highly recommended. Can't wait for season 2. Possibly 3. I don't know how long they're going to do this for. Depends where the story goes, I guess. So yeah, if that's everything, does anyone have any thoughts, comments, questions? anything before I end the podcast? Now's the time. Rob's cutting it off before it's finished. I hope not. I hope not. Amazon have done another superhero series called The Tick. I haven't watched it myself, but apparently that's good as well. Might give it a go. And that got cancelled after 2 seasons, and I don't think that was finished. So hopefully they don't do that, but I think this so far has been a lot more popular than The Tick. So, I mean, hopefully this makes them a lot of money, and hopefully they continue it. I mean, we'll get a season 2 at least, which will be fine by me. Patrick Warburton. Does it have him in it? I know there's some connection between The Tick and Patrick Warburton. I think Patrick Warburton might have played him in a movie. I don't think he plays him. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm very not qualified to talk about that, but he's the Tick and Patrick Warburton are definitely somehow connected. Somehow, I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, well. Also, if you get Amazon Prime, you can watch The Boys. You can watch The Tick. And you know what else you can do if you get Amazon Prime? You can use your Twitch Prime sub to JamsHams. And get some free games. I've had Amazon Prime. This is going to sound sponsored, but I highly recommend getting Amazon Prime. The shipping's great. You get better deals on some stuff. You get free subs and free games on Twitch. It's like, it's a really good deal. Especially if you're a student. If you're a student, get it half price. That's why I got it in the first place. It's pretty good. Hashtag not sponsored. But, I mean, it's weird. Because, like, not sponsored, but technically Amazon are my employers because they give me money. So, go check out my bosses, I guess. It's weird. It's weird. But yeah, if there's nothing else, I reckon I'll end the podcast there for the YouTube recording. So, thank you for watching JamsHams Judgement, my weekly review podcast. Every Friday on Twitch. Come check it out live if you're watching it on YouTube. I'd say it's definitely better live, and you can interact with me in real time. Wow, it's the future. If you have any suggestions on what you think I should review, please do message me or post something on any of my socials. The best place to do it is in my Discord. I've got a dedicated suggestion box in my Discord where you can put your suggestions for what to review, and I will probably get around to it. I've got a few on my list. I've been meaning to get around to a couple of animated DC films that were recommended to me. I'll try and get around to those. Maybe next week I'll do those. Maybe a Justice League or something. Not the film, an animated one that's probably way better. So yeah, any suggestions or feedback in general, or if you just want to hang out or follow me, whatever, keep up to date with everything that's going on, them's the places. So thank you for watching. Hopefully see you next week. Bye bye.